Hi, I'm Molissimo, and amazingly, I'm back with another video. She's on a roll. Now, it wouldn't be a season of videos from me if there wasn't one in which I very excitedly detailed my newest planning system that, without fail, I will end up abandoning within another 6 months. The cycle just continues. I was on stream with the troublemakers and I mentioned my new planning system, and I believe it was Anna Robbins who specifically requested a video. So Anna, this video is for you. Now, if you've been following me for any length of time, you may know that the past few years I've actually been quite loyal to the planner company Golden Coil. I am not at the moment using Golden Coil, however. I am using something called the dashboard from a company called Ink Volt, and that's what we're going to go over today. So first, I'm just going to give you an overview of what the dashboard looks like, what its functionality is, and then I'm going to show you my plan for this week so you can see how I choose to utilize all of the options. But first things first, the dashboard, as you can see, is long. It's larger in dimensions than like a typical planner, and that's because it's meant to sit on top of your desk. Now mine, I don't know if you can see this, but the edges are a little beat up because I tend to take this thing everywhere with me. I'll just slip it into my bag or briefcase or whatever and head out the door. It does get a little beat up, but so far that hasn't been an issue for me. At the end of every single week, the pages will rip off and you can start afresh. There are 52 pages per pad, which obviously makes sense given that there are 52 weeks in a year, and it is a weekly planner. Up here you have week of, where you can write the current week. Then you can say weekly theme and highlights. There's a little section that says this week will be because, and you fill those in. Then you have what I like to call your weekly snapshot. This is just where you can specify certain things to specific days of the week. Then we have our focus areas for goals, projects, or clients. This is what initially really attracted me to this planning system. I really like making to-do lists, but I'm constantly having this struggle between making to-do lists for specific projects versus making to-do lists for specific days. So what I like about the dashboard, within its structure, there is a lot of wiggle room, for me at least. I also really appreciate how it differentiates between things that are priorities versus things that are just things that need to get done, but maybe not quite so high priority. There is a place to write down what your top 3 priorities are for the week, so that way those are always kind of front and center. And then you have 4 large to-do lists, 2 small to-do lists, each with 3 shaded regions. You can differentiate however you want. In there, I use the 3 shaded regions, as you'll see, to denote priority list for a certain task, which is what you write up in this area, or at least that's how I do it. We also have a daily tracker system. I actually really appreciate that there are only 3 spots for daily habits. When I was first shown the dashboard, and by shown I mean when it was first advertised to me on Instagram, and then I bought it within like 30 minutes because I have always said I'm a level 7 susceptible to advertising. I was initially very hesitant to buy it because I love having daily habits that I keep track of, but I do honestly tend to get overwhelmed if I have too many daily habits. So I actually really appreciate that there's only room for 3 here. It means every week I'm focusing on 3 things, and hopefully after a week or 2 I've made them habits and I'm not overwhelmed by the amount of things that I'm trying to get myself to do every single day. And then there is a small dot grid section in between the top to-do lists and the daily trackers. As someone who loves dot grids, I'm never going to be mad that there is a dot grid present, but the shape and area of this dot grid I find a little mystifying. Yeah, if by the end of the video you have any ideas for how you would use that dot grid, leave a comment down below, because I'm always looking for ways of switching things up, as I've said. Now that you have an idea of what the dashboard looks like in its empty blank state, I'm gonna go ahead and show you my plan for this week, so that way you can see exactly how I use it. Okay, so this is my current plan for the week of April 3rd. As you can see right at the top, I've written April 3rd. I have said this week will be busy because meetings galore. This is probably not what the designers of the dashboard wanted you to do. They probably meant you to be like, this week will be inspiring because it's the beginning of Camp Nano or something like that. But I'm more of a realist and I have a very busy week, and so I have declared that this week shall be busy. Now for my weekly snapshot, I think is what I called it. This is how I use it. Obviously I put in the individual dates in those top corners, and then in the top line of each box, if there is a specific birthday happening, I will write it down, or if there is a holiday, I will write it down. As it so happens, there are 2 birthdays in my life this week, one on Monday and one on Thursday, and there is Easter this Sunday. So all of those go in the top of the day. Then I write down any meeting or appointment that I have set up, as well as the time. I have the time written first, and then I also write the meetings in order if I have multiple meetings on one day, as well as with their times. Once again, that's just so I can get a clear sort of vision for the flow of the day. Then at the bottom, I have little asterisks or starred items that don't have a specific time, but it's an item either that I do once a week and this is my designated day to do them. Like I have once a week where I take a specific medicine, and once a week I have dinner with my father. Or it's something that I'm interested in doing that day, but I don't have a specific time decided for it yet. Like this week on Wednesday, I'd like to go see the Dungeons and Dragons movie, but I don't have a specific time for it yet. So I assume it'll be in the evening, but nothing's solidified. So I've just written it down. Same with on Saturday, I plan on doing a 10-mile walk, but again, depending on weather and things like that, I don't want to commit myself to a specific time, so I've just started and wrote it down. Now, moving on to the focus areas for the week. As I mentioned earlier, I like having a daily to-do list and I like having project to-do lists. But the thing is I don't like having a daily to-do list every single day. And I don't like having a project to-do list for every single project. This is why I have really been enjoying the dashboard, because I kind of get to have my cake and eat it too. I get the best of both worlds, all the various cliches. Usually throughout the week, I will use up 2 of the large boxes and 1 of the small boxes for various projects that I'm working on that week. So specifically this week and almost every single week, I have a project to-do list for the work that I do. And this week, I have a project task list for a trip that I have coming up. In my work project list, I have my 3 most important tasks listed out in the gray boxes, as I said. And I also have 1 other task that was really important. It was also a priority. And so I just put a star next to it to indicate that, you know, it's on the same level of priority as the things in these gray boxes. For travel, very similar. My priorities are to prep my packing list, book some tickets and hotels, and just other things that I want to do to prepare for that trip, like looking up specific museum exhibits I might be interested in attending, or I have a thought. Book. I need to book some plays or musicals from the West End, so I've written that down. I've added it to my list. And for Camp Nano, I didn't touch on this in my last video, but my plans for Camp Nano are to get 20,000 words in the month across all of my projects. So my Camp Nano to-do list just says how many words I want to write for this week, as well as the projects that I'm most interested in kind of touching on, working on, getting words in this week. And as you can see, I've already done some work in Tornado Blunts, so that's exciting. I also usually reserve the other small half to-do list box for miscellaneous. That way, throughout the week, if things come up that I need to work on, then I can just write them down in that area. Now, these 2 spaces, as you can see, one is completely blank and one is completely full. That is because these 2, and sometimes depending on the week, these 3 larger boxes are reserved for what I like to call work days. Now, I'm doing work every single day, amazingly enough. As you can see up at the top, I've got meetings every single day except for on the weekends. I am busy. However, there are only specific days during the week where I'm going to be sitting down at my desk and need to write out the list of tasks that I need to do for that day. So today was one of those days, Tuesday, work day. So I didn't fill out this on Monday when I filled out the rest of this. I filled out the Tuesday work day list this morning. And as you can see, I'm currently working on it because I'm currently filming / I will be editing this video. And I also had some work for my main work that I needed to do, which I got done before filming the video, and I've got some emails I need to send. And you will notice that quite a few of the things on the Tuesday workday list are duplicates of things that are on my project to-do lists. And that's because when I know this is like so insanely complicated, but it feels very simple to me, especially after the horror story that was trying to work with Notion back in January. So I'm sorry if you're like listening to this and you're like, holy crap, but this system has been working great for me. But basically at the start of any day I've designated as a sit down, make a to-do list kind of work day, I look at the rest of my project to-do lists and I pull things from those lists and put them into the workday list. So as I complete them off of the workday list, I also complete them off of the project to-do list. For example, today, one of the things I needed to do was schedule a doctor's appointment, and I did that. So I crossed it off, I marked it off, I should say, off both the miscellaneous to-do list and the Tuesday workday list. And then this is remaining blank for now because it's giving me that option to have another sit down work day. Maybe it'll be tomorrow on Wednesday, maybe it'll be on Friday, we'll see. It's gonna really be on a day where I'm not out and about and I don't have a ton of meetings, because I really only feel the need to make a to-do list like this when I know I'm gonna be sitting at my desk for several hours. And then with my daily trackers, like I said, I kind of went into the whole spiel about why I like them so much. My trackers for this week are doing a stretch every evening, working on some strength exercises for my ankle, just because I'm prone to twisting my ankle and I'm trying to improve that, as well as an hour of Duolingo, because your girlie is trying to maintain the very slim hold that she has on Spanish. And currently what I use for the doc grid section is I just keep track of what books that I'm reading for that week. Instead of putting that in the miscellaneous to-do list, I just like giving books their own section, mainly because it saves space on my to-do lists, and also I didn't have another idea for what to do with the doc grid. So like I said, if you have ideas for what to do with the doc grid, let me know. That is basically it. My one final note is that I'm gonna bring your attention over to the miscellaneous section again. I have this little system for how I indicate that something's going to be important later on. I will say that is the one kind of, not failing, but one of the cons of the dashboard is that it's definitely a week at a time kind of thing. You're not really planning, making grand plans for the future or anything like that. So I do have a way of marking down if something's going to be important, not this week, but next week. And mainly that's just by drawing a shaded box around it. My eye gets really drawn to those kind of shapes. So at the end of the week, as I'm switching things over and moving on to the next week's to-do lists, I will know that for next week on April 14th at 1 p.m. I scheduled a doctor's appointment. So that's it, Anna. I hope this was an interesting breakdown for you of how I use my new planning system. It's really working for me right now. Almost 2 months into using this at this point. I use it every single week. I haven't skipped a week yet. It's really meeting all of the needs that I'm having currently, and I really think it's the reason why I'm re-entering into a phase of productivity within my life, because I had really dropped out of productivity during the winter this year. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully if I get this up to date, it means I will have had 2 videos in 2 weeks after about a 6-month hiatus, speaking of a lack of productivity, which hopefully means I'll be on a roll and have another video up maybe sometime next week. But until then, go be happy, go be healthy, and go write and plan. Bye.